what we are going to look at is a little bit of insight in the working with complex numbers. So, of course, we know the complex numbers is I, right? I is the complex number. So we have I, the value of I is the square root of -1. Of course, it's I. So our I squared is square root of -1 times square root of -1, which is actually -1. So square root of -1 times square root of -1, which is -1 actually. So we have our I cube, which is I squared times I1. But I squared is already -1 times our I, which is also minus I. And then we have our I4, which is I3 times I. Or let us see, I4 is I squared times I squared, which is -1 times -1, which is actually 1. So the values that we have here is actually for I is I squared is -1, our I cube is -I, and our I4 is 1. So look at this from this point of view. If you have all the unit values in our complex plane, so we have let's say 1, and then we have our I. We have -1 and have -I. You notice very well we have, so the units is, we have I, and then we have -1, and then we have -I, and then we have 1. So if you notice very well, it's going in an anti-clockwise direction, which means the next value you're going to have is going to be I, which is I5. So our I5 is the same value as our I1. So you have our I5 here. It's actually I4 times I1. But I4 is already 1 times I1, which is I, to give us I. Which means that our I6 is -1, because our I6 is I4 times I2. But I4 is already 1. 1 times I2. I2 is -1. To give us -1. Which we have here. I7 is -I. I7 is -I. And our I8 is 1. If you notice very well, it moves in the multiples of 4, which means that we can deduce any value of our of the exponents of our I based on the multiples of 4. So if you say I26, for example, I26 is simply I4 times 6 times I2, because I4 times 6 is 24. 24 plus 2 is 26. But I4 is already 1. 1 raised to the power 6 is 1. 1 times I squared. But I squared is already -1. So our answer is -1. So I26 is -1. And our I13 is actually I4 times 3 times I1. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 13. But I4 is already 1. 1 times raised to the power 3 is 1. 1 times I1 is I. So our I13 is equals to I. So in this pattern, we can always find any value of our I raised to power any exponent, simply by breaking it down to the multiple of 4 and the remaining 1, and then removing the multiple of 4 because it's already 1, and then finding the value of the next one. So of course, I raised to power 100, for example, is I25 times 4. I4 times 25. Let me clean this. So it's I4 times 25, but I4 is already 1. So 1 raised to the power 25 is 1. So I raised to the power 100 is 1. So follow this pattern and be able to solve the problems for any exponents that we have in our complex